Greetings, I'm Rob Chapman.
And I need a cowboy hat.
You need a cowboy hat. I know a guy that can hook you up.
Really?
Johnny Harland.
Johnny Harland,
my buddy
yes,
from Texas.
Absolutely. He can teach me a few licks at the same time.
He has a hat endorsement.
Has he really?
Yeah, he's got a hat endorsement with a wicked company.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We need a hat endorsement. So if you're watching this and make badass cowboy boots and Stetsons, then, you know, we'll endorse that one.
Do you know what? I'll drink to that, please.
I'll drink to that too. Cheers.
As if we haven't had enough coffee from these Andertons mugs already. Do it, buddy.
Yeehaw! We are here today because Martin have a guitar, which is wonderful and beautiful, and we've never videoed before, called the Dreadnought Junior.
We dread its mighty acoustic presence.
So, I'm sure you've heard me tell the story a million billion times before about why a Dreadnought's called a Dreadnought and all that kind of stuff, but fundamentally the guitar that Rob has got
this huge thing that's cumbersome.
Yes, it's the archetypal kind of most classic copied acoustic guitar shape of all time, as designed way back when in the 30s by the Martin Guitar Company, called the Dreadnought.
Its voice is deep and mighty.
Yep, you can alter the tone of the Dreadnought acoustic by making it out of different timbers and stuff like that, but fundamentally it's always been popular with guitar players because it's pretty loud and pretty sort of a good all-rounder. However, there is a downside with the Dreadnought, and that is that the sheer physical size of it will put many players off, just because it's not only physically big but quite loud as well. So if you want something a little bit more compact, both in terms of size and tone, you perhaps might have looked in the past at perhaps a Martin 000 or an OM or something like that. But what Martin have decided to do brilliantly, I think, is kind of keep the aspects of a Dreadnought, but just
reduce the ratio.
It. Yeah. And thus we end up with a Dreadnought Junior. Which, I know Rob and I are different players, but if Rob plays a big open E chord right now, and then I do the same here, you can hear sound
great.
A little different. Rob's we've taken from the Martin X series, which is a solid spruce top with their HPL back and sides. Great guitar, super popular, really affordable. Yeah, it's high pressure laminate.
Wood.
Well, without Martin would say it is wood. Martin's competitors
it's
would
a laminate.
say it wouldn't.
It's a laminate of wood.
It's essentially all of the off-cut chippings and stuff that end up on the factory floor at Martin, compressed into a high-pressure laminate.
I've never heard of
molded
this.
into back and sides on a guitar.
Right.
So it's kind of wood and kind of laminate, and extremely environmentally friendly. I mean, it's just a veneer on the outside. If you look on the inside, you see the slightly more sort of speckled grain, if you like, of that type of composite.
Yes, you can.
Obviously,
sounds good.
Externally, it's got a veneer on it to make it just look like a piece of solid wood. Anyway, so that's what Martin do on their X series, and that's part of the reason why they're so affordable.
But this looks like mahogany.
Yeah, so the Dreadnought Junior is an all-solid guitar, so kind of crazy well-priced when you consider normally what Martin would charge for an all-solid guitar. So a spruce top and sapele back and sides. Do we say sapele? You say sapele. Some people say sapel.
So is the neck made of sapele as well?
Yes, it's a sapele neck. I'm a complete believer in there's no such thing as the best guitar or the worst guitar. There's only the best guitar for you.
Yes.
But Martin's big rival on the scene is Taylor. Taylor make their guitars very differently to Martin. And in this range, Taylor would have something like the GS Mini, which has been unbelievably popular, but it's their sort of 3/4 kind of size guitar, or a bit bigger than maybe 3/4, but But probably one of the most telling differences in the construction design between Taylor and Martin is that Taylor use a bolt-on neck design. Doesn't look like, don't forget what you might think of a Strat or a Telecaster or something.
It's a very, very different situation.
It's all bolted on internally, so externally it's very discreet. But it allows Taylor to have quite a lot of fine-tuning and adjustment about the angle of the neck, and it allows them to build guitars quite rapidly, build their necks and bodies separately and know they're all going to fit together. And some people love that, and that's fine because it's very cool and it certainly means you get great action on Taylor guitars. However, Martin...
Oh, that's what that's for.
Yeah, Martin use a glued-in neck joint. On this particular guitar, it's called a mortise and tenon neck joint, which is this sort of, what would you call that, sort of oval-shaped or finger-shaped. That's the tenon bit, yeah. And it sort of slots in there and is then glued in. As you go up through the Martin range, that joint becomes a dovetail joint, so more of a V-shaped kind of joint.
I love this, using models in our demonstration videos.
Which camera? I should do this to this camera, shouldn't I? So you can zoom in. Now, Martin would argue that using this style of neck joint is better at sort of transferring tone from the resonance that's happening.
And by time we're talking about volume and brightness, darkness, every aspect of the sound.
It's Rob and I are going to do another video in the future to talk about when we say tone, we are using that as the umbrella word for the sound of a guitar. So sustain, resonance, brightness, darkness, output, whatever. Any way a guitar sounds different to the next one, we refer to that as its tonal difference. Anyway, so Martin would say that with a glued-in neck joint, whether it's a mortise and tenon or a...
well, there's more surface area touching, so the vibrations pass easier from the neck into the body. The
downside with this is, and again, let's be balanced and fair to Taylor, there isn't then, once it's glued in, there isn't the adjustment you've just got the truss rod essentially to adjust the curvature of the neck rather than the angle of the neck joint. So, what you perhaps gain in tone, in fullness of tone, if you like, you potentially lose a little bit in terms of its playability. So, but it's great because you guys have a choice. You can choose which one suits you. So this is an all-solid guitar. Now, again, in the interest of being balanced, the GS Mini from Taylor is not an all-solid guitar. It's a solid top with a laminate back and sides. So the only other brands that you're going to get all-solid guitars at this sort of price, will be the Far Eastern kind of brands like, the Faiths and the Yamahas and stuff like that. See, this is just beautiful. This is beautiful.
Can I have a go?
Yeah. In fact, we should have some. I think you should just do some extended playing on that guitar, Rob, so people can kind of hear what it's like as a strummy or in a finger pickery or whatever.
Interesting that the bracing is so close to the sound hole.
Yeah, it's an X-braced guitar. So again, another thing that Martin invented.
How did they invent that?
Quite the pioneers they invented the most copied shape and the most copied bracing of all time. But there we are.
Just immediately, it's interestingly enough, I notice it now that I'm playing the guitar, but it's warmer, much warmer sounding than that. Play a C.
A C?
Yeah. how much brighter that is. This has got more warmth and lower mids. It's nice and easy to play.
Yeah, so...
I immediately bond with it.
See, I wonder if the reason for that is actually part of it being a slightly smaller size guitar. Is it's a 24-inch scale length. So it's like, you know, you'd probably, if we were talking about electric guitars, we would typically talk about 24-inch scale length as being a short scale length. So even though when the strings are tuned to concert pitch, they should still feel a little bit slacker and easier to push down than the strings on a full length guitar.
Such a full sound. It's great.
I'm very fond of the kind of the small guitars. I mean, I played Dreadnought acoustics sort of all my life really, and was always of the sort of understanding that, you know, for some reason bigger was better when it came to acoustic guitars.
Yes.
Oh dear. Oh, misses. There's something about a small-bodied guitar that I think when you're in a busy guitar store and you're trying it out and there's lots of background noise and stuff, it's quite easy to just walk out the store thinking the Dreadnought one was the better sounding guitar because it is louder. But there's a certain amount. I mean, when you were playing there and the room was very, very, very quiet, and you could certainly hear lots of these kind of very natural harmonics and resonance and notes coming out that were really very pleasing to hear. But at the minute, if there was any background noise or anything like that, you just wouldn't. You wouldn't hear
notice
them.
it.
So I think it's quite, you know, these kind of guitars lend themselves to that late night sitting on the sofa.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, anyone that's a drummer will know a lot about little things having low sounds or bright sounds. In fact, recently I watched a documentary and read some stuff about Stradivarius because I was interested in the construction of acoustic guitars and actually just body and neck tone transfer. And they were saying that Stradivarius used an internal bracing system that was like a rib cage,
right?
And it was just straight, and it got closer and closer. The bracings got closer towards the neck, and he would make a violin, or a tiny body, have loads of volume and loads of bass, but it's this tiny little body, and it wasn't to do with the size giving you the depth of sound. It was to do with the construction of the materials. In this case, volcanic ash, all sorts of witchcraft and wizardry.
Really?
So it doesn't make a difference the size. It's more the construction and the materials.
Yeah.
Stradivarius was using lots of fruitwoods like pear, and in this case we're using sapele. And what's the top again? Spruce and sapele. Yeah. He used spruce in his violins on the top.
Did he use spruce?
Actually, he used spruce on the top of his. What did you say?
Spruce foresight.
No, Stradivarius made, I think it was like 6 to 8 acoustic guitars. One of them is still playable and still alive right now.
I'd love to try that.
Go on the internet and type in Stradivarius acoustic guitar. There's a guy that still plays it and he's touring with it now, and it's got a spruce top.
Wow. Well, I mean, bracing is ludicrously important. Rob and I were in the NAMM show earlier this year, and we tried some new Epiphone acoustics that are coming out that are reproductions of even earlier acoustic designs, pre-kind of X-bracing designs, where the bracing runs from front to back on the guitar rather than this X bracing. And you realise that it prevents the top from really resonating. So you get these big guitars, but that sound very honky and bright and almost small, you know.
You know what's, again, fascinatingly interesting to me? The way that some luthiers design the top and tune it is they'll lay really fine sand or wood shavings on top, and then they vibrate the top, and it'll cause different patterns of resonance, so you can see where it's coming from. And the bracing tunes the top as well as supporting the structure to allow certain tones to emit.
There's a Martin guitar, I think it's called an OM21 or something like that, or a M26 or something. But anyway, they talk about all they've done is it's what's called forward bracing. So all the bracing's just been shunted forward a little bit. And again, you just try two identical guitars, one with regular bracing, one with forward bracing, and they sound really different. So anyway, look, there's tons and tons of cool stuff we could talk about this. Predominantly, we're really just trying to show off the Dreadnought tuner. Sorry, I was just kind of feeling.
Feeling my end?
The neck doesn't feel any different to the full size X series. So I think it's not necessarily designed at somebody that's got like tiny hands, 7, 8 years old or something. It's very much designed as an adult guitar.
It feels like, dare I say it, a Les Paul neck.
Yeah, it just feels like a normal kind of neck, doesn't it? I tell you one of the things here. Have I told you my Richlight story before?
No.
So it's a Richlight fretboard, as many guitars are. Now, here's a fun one for you. So Richlight is an ebony alternative because black ebony is
hard to find.
Very hard to find now. Bob Taylor, very environmentally responsible chap that he is, he owns the rights to all of the
nursery
wood that comes out of this forest in Cameroon. It's the last place on earth where you can get ebony from, and. Anyway, so he now says to people, look, we're not just going to give you we're not just going to select the black ebony and leave all of the sort of figured ebony to rot. He says, I'm going to harvest all the ebony and you're going to get whatever you get. So you might order a ton of ebony and it might have flame through it or whatever. So a lot of manufacturers who say, no, look, it's really important that we have a black fretboard because it's part of the iconic, like Gibson Les Paul Customs and things like that. So they researched what is a really good alternative to ebony in terms of feel, look, and tone. Mm-hmm. And all the guitar makers sort of generally agreed that there was this material called Richlight, which was the closest possible alternative to ebony. Now, Richlight is actually more expensive than ebony. Uh-huh. So it wasn't, a lot of people just went, no, so I'll finish the story. The downside, or I'd say downside, the bit where it's a bit of a marketing PR disaster, is the most common use for Richlight is kitchen worktops. So of course
that was almost a bit of a jam dropper.
So everybody's kind of gone, oh my god, you were using this beautiful natural wood called ebony to make fretboards, and now you're using a kitchen worktop to make it. You cheapskate bastards and all this kind of stuff.
Well, it's like pine. You used to make furniture from pine, but guitars, Telecasters were made from pine years ago.
But it's the use of Richlight on these fretboards has nothing to do with being a cheapskate git. It's entirely to do with just trying to find an alternative to ebony.
But isn't that all? That's we're skirting around the tone thing. But isn't this always the funny thing? Is that a lot of people associate cost with great, perceived better tone. No. But the truth is, it's to do with whether you can source the wood, whether it's rare, hard to find, for example.
Cost is all supply and demand.
Absolutely.
If there's not a lot of it and everybody wants it and it's expensive, it will be expensive.
For example, I know some basswood guitars that sound absolutely amazing, and it's basswood.
Yeah, I mean, it's and a large reason that the Fender Stratocasters used, ash and alder was simply that, there was a plentiful supply of it down the road from where Leo Fender was trying to make guitars, So look, yes, forget we don't believe at all that expensive woods equals better woods. No. We just believe that different woods make different noises.
Different is different, that's the rule.
Anyway, I think we've probably told you enough about this wonderful guitar. It comes with this cute-looking Martin padded gig bag.
Okay.
Pretty okay. Sort of.
It's all right. I mean, if I own, how much is this worth?
So the guitars are $5.99.
Okay, that's great. To be honest with you, I thought this was a lot more.
Oh, you think you were going to be one of like the £1,500 ones or something?
Well, when I saw the gig bag, I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not going to be putting my £2,000 acoustic guitar in that. But then
it's $5.99 with the gig bag. It has a built-in Fishman pickup and preamp system. So if I don't know if you can see, but up inside the sound hole here, if Rob just pops his finger in the hole,
I'll put my finger.
You'll feel two sort of dials.
Oh, yeah.
One's volume, one's tone.
Yeah.
And
man.
You've just got the socket on the bottom here to plug the guitar.
I like mine. I think they're a nice brand. I think they make great guitars.
They make great
I
guitars.
think they're innovating in eco-friendly ways. That's a really good thing and very important.
They were established in 1833.
1833,
Yeah.
bro.
I know.
What year was Andertons established?
1964. And there I don't know if I can say this completely uninterrupted, but as far as I'm aware, there has always been a member of the Martin family at the helm of Martin guitars. So the current Chris Martin, the 17th or whatever he is.
Coldplay.
Exactly. His name is Chris Martin, but it's not from Coldplay. In fact, I'm fairly sure as well, even when everyone who is in charge of Martin, their first name, the initials are CF. So even all through the years, Charles and Christian, and there've been when women have been in charge, they've had names that begin with C as well.
Wow.
It's almost like when you're born and named, you're obviously predestined to be
someone.
Have I made all that up? And have I made all that up? I'm sure I haven't made all that up.
Frank Herbert Martin.
Who was Frank Herbert Martin? Not the current guy, is he?
No, he was the one a few.
All right. I'm just saying, that was a nice story that I've obviously made up as the Martin rep has just stuck his head round the door and gone, what are you talking about? Anyway, so shall we jam out and...
Yeah, if you want.
So look, I'll put a link in the description below so that you can find out more about the Dreadnought Junior, more about, if you're thinking, do you know what, I prefer the sound of the other one, then that's cool, because the X Series is very affordable as well. In fact, X Series is actually a little bit less than Dreadnought Junior, so
Ooh.
I'll put a link to that too.
Sick.
But,
Let's play some blues and then, bro.
Au revoir!
And again!
Oh, I've just realised I've got a Rob Chapman plectrum. No wonder I sound so
You...
I've got another my own plectrums, 50p.
You don't have any plectrums. I've taken over your... What are you stealing my plectrums for, blood?
There's one of my
Got
own.
my plectrums?
Right, just put these
What
back
you chatting?
Right. Do it. Count me in.